Hey, it's Biddy Penny. Welcome back to my channel. Today, you guys, it's all about Craft Roulette, and I have a card. So, Craft Roulette is the ultimate card making challenge, but it's not just for card makers because sometimes the project is open enough that you can do journal pages or whatever kind of paper craft you want. This is their website, and I wanted to point this out today because they get contributions from all over the world every week. So this is just from last week's episode, and they have a gallery there. For every single episode, there's been 200 episodes so far, and it is just full of inspiration, you guys. So if you ever feel stuck or you want card making ideas, go check out the Craft Roulette gallery. For every episode, there's a gallery, and it shows all the cards that were submitted. This last week, there were over 400 cards submitted. I think there were like 433. So if you can't get ideas from there, I don't know. Anyways, also, what's really cool is that it's for card makers of all styles and levels. It's not just for the experienced or those of us who have a channel or Instagram. It's for everyone. Absolutely anyone can submit a contribution as long as you submit your contribution within the time frames of submitting contributions. So I'm going to go over that with you next. You submit your contributions at craftroulette.com, and on Fridays, it opens up at 6:30 and closes on Sunday at midnight. That's if for the general public, okay? But if you're a patron, you get an extension. For patrons, you can submit all the way up till midnight on Thursday. And you come to the same place if you're a patron or the public to submit your cards. You just submit one photograph, the best photo you can take. It doesn't have to be professional. Please don't worry about that. Take it with your phone. And then you can go back to these past episodes and also get ideas just on the parameters. And then you can see how people worked with those parameters by going through the gallery. That's me, episode 195. I absolutely love Craft Roulette. I just love Mary and Steven and the whole chatterbox and just everything about it. There is nothing that I don't love about it. And that's why I'm always trying to pull y'all in. Let's make a card. Okay, so this was my Craft Roulette card for this past week, episode 200. And oh, Homer Simpson. Okay, so it was a kid's card. The color was burr. The element is cartoon, and the random was button. So I just thought of Homer Simpson. I don't know why. I guess the remote control. Like, I always think of him with holding a remote in his hand, sitting on the couch, and there is the Duff beer, but I just had these like soda bottles, and, a Craft Roulette is a family-friendly show, so I didn't want to emphasize a Duff beer, but I do emphasize donuts instead, but I do put it on there. I also draw Homer, so I went on and I Googled an image of him and I did a variation of it. It's not exact. Whoa, it's not exact at all. But, I just grabbed a scrap piece of paper and gave it my best. And I feel like completely comfortable with that. I love Craft Roulette because it just throws these elements at you, these parameters, Mr. Wheel does. And, every week you're winging it. And I think it's great if you're trying to loosen up your style, if you're maybe trying to find your style, go with Craft Roulette. Or if you're feeling stuck in your mojo, go to Craft Roulette. I just can't recommend it enough. And so, this week I was like, I really want it to be a Homer Simpson card. I wanted to play on the idea. I know it's not necessarily a kid's card, But I played on the idea that adulting is a trap. I could totally see Homer Simpson saying that. Like, he is the biggest kid, is he not? Like, a terrible example of a child, but like, he is just a big kid. And so this is more for like those teenagers who were trying to become adults too quickly. And, adulting is definitely a trap. Okay, so the colors were burr. And I interpreted that in today's card by using cool colors for each. So a cool shade for each of my colors. So when I picked yellow, I tried to pick the coolest color of yellow that I have. Now, fortunately, because I don't have a lot of alcohol markers, my tones are already cool. So that's fabulous. And I did very simple coloring because I did very simple drawing, and this is a cartoon character. I really had fun just winging it and playing around, and making this my own. It is definitely my own. Obviously, it's not a stamp set or anything like that. The remote control is even more loose than Homer, and I love it all. And this card would not happen if I was not playing along with Craft Roulette. And I think for me, because I've been playing along with Craft Roulette for the last 3 years, and with Mary, is that some of my favorite cards. So I did a recap of 2023 and I showed y'all as much as I could that I worked on in 2023. And some of my favorite cards were my Craft Roulette cards. And these cards just wouldn't happen if I wasn't playing along and following the parameters. So, I think that's the beauty of being pulled outside your comfort zone and stretch. And I'll tell you, one of my favorite parts of the show is when Mary spins the wheel. So there's 4 different parameters that they spin for every week, and that's the project, the color, the element, and random. And then people in the chatter box just start giving amazing ideas based on the parameters. So say it was cartoon, they would start coming up with all the ideas for cartoon. And cartoon might not be something that's challenging for you to come up with an idea for, but maybe burr for the color or button for random. Maybe you don't have any like sewing buttons, and so you're kind of lost. Like, what am I going to do? I don't have any stamps of buttons. I don't have any buttons in my stash. I don't want to make one. I don't like buttons. Then they say buttons on a remote, buttons, on clothing of stamped characters that you might have. They'll just come up with all these ideas. And so Mary always jokes about wearing your stretchy pants. And, it's true. You really get to stretch. And these elements, so even though it's supposed to be a kid's card, I think I'm well within the range of creating something. No, this really isn't a kid's card, but it's based on the idea that you don't want to grow up. Like, hey, kids, slow down. Adulting is a trap. Don't go there if you don't have to, or at least take your time. So, every element is open for your artistic interpretation. And we joke about having the crafty police like Heidi, but that really is just a joke. And, the whole thing is to make something that only you can make. It's truly unique. Every single card in the gallery, you would think if you had 433 people submitting cards last week that you would have so many repeats, but you really don't. When you go through that gallery, there's 433 uniquely handmade cards. And to me, that is the beauty. That is what we're all capable of doing. I know so many times we want to case cards or use sketches for cards, and even then we see that every piece is unique. Okay, so this is me Very kid-like, drawing out my remote. And maybe that's another element that could be interpreted here, is that kids typically aren't going to have a ton of stamp sets. They're going to do a lot of drawing on their cards. My daughter just made a bunch of Valentines for her friends at school, and she didn't want to buy them in a package. She didn't want to use any of my craft supplies, really. She just wanted to draw and color them cards. So in that way, this is kind of a kid's card too, because I drew a couple of my elements. Just saying. See, that's how open to interpretation Craft Roulette is. I think too, sometimes when you're casing work, it would be, if you've been practicing in Craft Roulette and submitting cards and following along, and then you go to case someone's work, I think your brain might fire in a new and creative way, and you might case a card differently. You might not be so literal to casing it because you've been playing on words and playing on interpretation and playing on variety, because you don't get to pick the elements so much. I mean, you do. You have some leeway, obviously. But, the theme of your card is picked for you. The color palette's picked for you. The size is picked for you. And then there's always that random element. So I am delighted to tell you guys, I don't even know what minute we're in this video. I'm going to be on Craft Roulette this week. I'm filling in. Unfortunately, the planned guest was unable to make it, but I know that Mary will have her on and that she will make a spot for her, as we all want to meet her and see her craft. I love the variety of guests that Mary gets on the show. She gets small channels, big channels, all kinds of artists, watercolor artists, Copic coloring artists, die cutting and scrap busting. I cannot wait for Tracy. My friend Tracy from Mindless Crafting is going to be on for the first time in March. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I cannot wait for Tracy and Mary to get together. I'm going to have popcorn. Oh, it's going to be so much fun. So now I'm starting to kind of assemble my card here, and, I wanted to collage these items together, but I also wanted to take inspiration from this picture and from the Simpsons living room. And I am going to make the couch and the wall background. I knew I had these gorgeous solid colored papers in my stash, and so I decided to just keep it really simple and use these. I cut these down to 6 inches, and that way it was just ready to go on my 4x6 index card here. So I love making 5x7 cards. That's no secret or surprise. And so I've been using these 4x6 index cards to make collage 5x7 cards recently, just this year. And now I'm just seeing myself pulling these as card fronts when I'm working on other cards as well. So that's what I did today. I rounded the corner on one side. I flipped that piece of paper over and did the same thing to the other side. And that way it was symmetrical. Not that it really matters too much because a lot of these elements are going to be covered, but still, that's what I did, in case you want to know. And that gives me that rounded back couch and sofa that Homer loves so much. I'm doing a very basic 4x6 pink page for the wall. And I have to say, I love the color of the Simpsons living room. I never thought much about it, but as I'm making a card, I'm like, I love that pink wall and that red couch. And their bright yellow bodies. It's fabulous. Somebody else was thinking about it. Okay, so I'm kind of looking at the couch and I'm wanting to make this look more like a couch. So one way that I'm making this look more illustrated is by going ahead and drawing a black line around it as if this has been drawn and colored. And then I'm adding these little buttons on the couch, more buttons, and little tufts of fabric to make it look more couch-like. Now, I drew 5 buttons. Guess how many you're going to see when I put my card together? 1. But I like, you never know. You never know how your card's going to lay, so I just want to make it look complete. So now he has his sofa and his comb over. I just had to kind of take out a little bit of that white cardstock between his comb over pieces. So that's what I'm doing here now with my X-Acto knife, is just making his comb over even more wispy. Oh, Homer. I also had to draw, like, his side hair always extends off his head, which I love, right? And so I had to make sure I did that as well. You know, I don't watch The Simpsons. I had a roommate in college who loved The Simpsons, like loved The Simpsons. And I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't watch it, but it's just never been something I watched a lot of. I did watch it when I was young. When I was young, it came out and it was hilarious. And I have a nephew who looked like Bart Simpson and acted like Bart Simpson. So I've always had like just a big open heart to it because of that. Like, it reminds me of my nephew, at least when he was little and we were younger. And yeah, so I'm not a big fan. I don't know a ton about the show, but I'm surrounded by people who are big fans. And I do love making cards that are based on pop culture. I made fried green tomatoes cards last year. I made Little Shop of Horrors. I don't know. It's just fun to be inspired by pop culture and make a card based on it. So here I'm going back in with that same Micron pen. This is a 05 for anyone who's curious. I know there's lots of curious minds out there. And I'm outlining everything, you guys. I'm just going to outline everything because, again, I want it all to look drawn as if it was illustrated. And so I'm making sure to outline everything with my Micron. The bottles, the drink bottles, let's just call them that for the kids. I mean, this channel isn't for kids, but you know what I mean. Let's just be kosher here. So, yeah, I'm outlining the drink bottles. And then this is when I was like, it needs another element. I'm not done yet. Where are the donuts? I've got to add donuts. Homer loves donuts. So I'm going to put this 4x6 on my 5x7 card base, and I am putting this towards the top. See that? How the top edge of my card at his comb over has less white space than the bottom edge, and that's because this is going to need a sentiment. I don't always add sentiments to my cards. In fact, the further I get in my card making, the fewer sentiments I put on my card fronts. I usually just save it for the inside. But I wanted to put one on here. I work in the art world and I see a ton of comics. And, they always had their paste ups at the bottom. And so I can't help myself. I have to make this look like an original piece that would have a paste up on it. I just have to. So, okay. Here is my donuts, and I am going to only color one of these with you guys here. I mean, I'm keeping it very basic. I do add some shadowing just around the edges. I want it to feel dimensional. don't donuts have the best dimension? Oh, I want a donut right now. Oh gosh, it would be so fabulous. So yes, I add just a little darkness around the edges. I add a little bit of a white marker. I color in the sprinkles and I try to keep this palette cool. So, a cool blue, a cool green, and purple and pink. So it's got the burr going on, but it's very subtle. That's the other thing that is really cool about the parameters that I haven't talked about yet. I'm trying to really educate you guys on Craft Roulette. I mean, it's just my brain on Craft Roulette, but like all of the elements, or sorry, all of the parameters don't have to be like in your face. Like the burr doesn't have to only be blue. Or, it can be cool tones of other colors. And if you're not into cartoon, you could just and you're really into flowers, you could work that into your flowers. And it doesn't have to be a Homer Simpson. For buttons, you can allude to buttons, like the buttons on the couch, the buttons on the remote. Or you can make your whole card front buttons. Like you get to decide how much of each parameter you want to play up. So that's really fun too. Like you can be a little elusive on some of them that maybe are more challenging. So I went to my computer and I typed out adulting is a trap. And then I actually copied and pasted it a few more times because I felt like this is a sentiment I'll probably want to use more than once. So I printed it on my computer and then I'm just adding some lines around it. Really, this is so unnecessary, but again, I'm wanting to give it that illustrated look. And then I'm just going to glue it right down here. The card maker in me wanted to pop this up and that would be fabulous, but I just pasted it down because I was thinking more of a paste up. And they are just kind of slapped near the art. I made a sentiment for the inside. I put some more paper on the inside and of course a stack of donuts. It says some days need more donuts. Happy birthday anyways. I don't know how that works, but it is what it is. And I'm going to burnish my score line here. And this is my card, you guys, for episode 200 of Craft Roulette. I hope you guys will hang out with me and Mary this Friday. That's tomorrow at 6:30 Central Standard Time. Bye, guys.